What's up, everybody? The purpose of today's video is, I guess, give you guys mainly a little background on what my life is looking like currently, the shit that I've been dealing with this past year, some of my opinion on it, how that reflects on American society, and just kind of a way to vent a lot of my frustrations that I feel like not the kind of thing that I just feel like bitching about on a regular daily basis, but it's the kind of thing where in some ways I worry like something like this makes me look bad, mainly because I try and always be an honest person. None of this shit that I'm telling you guys is ever bullshit. This is always my real life. And so, it just kind of pisses me off when things that I say get skewed because of, other people's, shortcomings. So this video is about kind of the experience that I've had with doctors in this past year. As I've told you guys, I'm starting on this process of tapering off of methadone. My goal is to put like opiate addiction behind me, so I knew that it was going to be a very tough ride ahead of me, but this was about a year and a half ago starting this. I didn't even really want to start doing it until I knew for sure that my plan was going to be in motion, because I knew that when I started to get lower on the methadone, if basically what they wanted me to do, or what they're having me do before I do this ibogaine treatment, is switch to morphine, which is a shorter acting opiate, so that the withdrawal period that the ibogaine is supposed to cover is it's a period of time that's able to actually be covered, because methadone withdrawal can be excruciatingly long. But so I didn't even want to start until they said that they would write a letter to my doctor, and that should persuade him to be able to prescribe it. So I mean, it was a little complicated at first, because first my actual doctor, around the time when I was trying to get this all started, had contracted COVID. This was like around the start of maybe a couple months after when COVID had started, he said that. So I couldn't talk to my regular doctor at that point. But I talked to another one of the newer doctors on their team. At first, I didn't want to talk to a newer doctor, because I thought that they would maybe this would sound kind of fishy to them. I know that my doctor has known my past history, and he knows that I've been taking recovery seriously, this past 6 or 7 years. So I figured he would be on board with this, wanting to see me kind of put this step in my life behind me. But so, I keep trying to get an appointment with my doctor. Even when he recovered from COVID, his waiting list was so long that it was like a month went by, another month went by, and couldn't get in contact with him. So finally I decided to make an appointment with one of the other doctors there. So I do that, and it was, pretty, I had a good conversation with the other doctor. Basically, he told me that he thought, and he was an African guy. I didn't ask exactly where he was from or anything, but I could tell, he knew what I was talking about, because ibogaine is an African medicine. It's used, in spiritual practices and ceremonies. It's been in Africa for a long, long time. So I told him that, I was wanting to do this ibogaine treatment, that I had done it before when I was younger, and that it was incredibly successful, and that this was a step that was involved, having to switch over to the morphine. And he seemed enthusiastic about it. He said that he thought this was a great way that they're dealing with opiate situations now, and he was in support of this. So he said that it shouldn't be a problem. So, a month or two goes by. I still can't get another appointment with my regular doctor, but they set me up with another appointment with one of their other doctors. I tell her about this whole situation, She seems to not have any clue what I'm talking about. I think this doctor didn't really have much experience in recovery or drug addiction. So she was like, I'll talk to Dr. Frankel. Maybe, and we'll have him set up a conversation with you, who is my actual doctor. And I mean, maybe I shouldn't have said his name, but I don't think it's him. And any regular doctor in America, I probably would have this problem with too. So I'm not like blaming him or anything. It's just the whole system, I think, that's flawed. So basically, eventually, I guess they realized that this is something I'm going to need to talk to my regular doctor about. So they let me set up an appointment with him. I talked to him. He seems a little overwhelmed by all of this. I mean, naturally, I've been trying to talk to him about this for a long time, but, it's had to be through these other doctors, so it is kind of overwhelming. But he said he would take on this case from now on, and basically, said that he seemed like he was, happy that I'm going into recovery, and said that he was on board with my plan. So, I mean, I still felt a little uncomfortable about this all, but, I started tapering down. And because, I knew I'd want to give him heads up when I was getting pretty close to the point where I was going to get sick, because I didn't want to risk, relapse. So, my plan was way in advance, a couple weeks before I'm at the milligram dosage where, I feel like I'm in trouble. He knows that we can talk about starting this transition. So, months go by. I'm going by relatively slowly, 5 milligrams a week. Then I think at one point I did 10 milligrams a week for a little bit. And he gave me a couple of medications to help with the process, which honestly haven't really helped much at all. Like clonidine, which is a blood pressure medication, and hydroxyzine. Very little, maybe just a tiny bit of mental placebo type effect. But so I start getting down to the point where I'm getting pretty uncomfortable, and I tell my doctor, I think it's time when I'm ready to start doing this. And he says, he basically tries to tie me along and say well, hold on, let's try and up the other medications you're on and just try and stretch it a little bit further. And I started to feel uncomfortable about this. I told him I'm really not sure if I want to do this way, because it puts me in a situation where if I start to panic, I may end up going and copying drugs. And so he says, well, just continue to take it slowly, don't go any lower yet. Basically, what was happening is, I think he was turning back on the idea of wanting to prescribe this medication himself. He because, I mean, I guess really what I'm getting to is, the most important thing with doctors in America is that they can make, as much money as possible, and that nothing can get in the way of causing any potential issues in their practice. Because I mean, they're worried about lawsuits and everything, which I understand. But when it comes to, saving one of your patients' lives, I think that you have to make some morality calls in terms of, and I mean, I would think, what one of their concerns is that, I guess morphine is a strong medication that they give typically to cancer patients, and that if that overdose, if that was a concern, that could be problematic. But I feel like if he knew anything about addiction, he would know that the amount of morphine that they would be giving me is comparable to the amount of methadone that I'm taking, and if anything, it's going to make me function normally, as opposed to, I mean, any more erratic than my body already is in during withdrawals. But anyways, so he says, he decides he doesn't want, he says just let's do this slowly, and I'm trying to say that while we're doing this, I'm compromised, I still have to work. It's not like life is like while I'm holding on to make this transition, I'm in pain, and I'm suffering. And he's telling me to just wait and wait. Tells me that he's gonna see if he has someone knows somebody that's a pain specialist. He sends me to this person. They basically tell me, he's like, well, I can't prescribe it myself. Which later my doctor said he could have, but I think it was just the same kind of issue. He tells me what the dosage would typically be for me to make this transition, and sends that back to my doctor. But then my doctor, still doesn't want to prescribe it. So ultimately, I was fortunate enough to find, I started to get pretty hopeless at that point. And then I did get a call from the Ibogaine Center that I'm going to, where that they are opening a location in Baja, Mexico, where it will be it will be easier for me to get the prescription that I need. And so I'm in the process of trying to talk to a doctor there, but that has been a hell of a process also. I understand with them, because they're in the process of opening this new place, like while COVID's happening. I'm sure it's pretty complicated. But they've been kind of slow with giving me answers. My guess is that they were, trying to give me good news before I lose hope, even though they're not at the point where they can start this tomorrow. But either way, there have been a couple times where I've tried to talk to the doctor, send him the person in charge of this program gave me the doctor's information. I've emailed the dude. There were a couple times where he'd email me back later that night and say can we talk tonight? And didn't really give me a phone number or anything. When I get to the email, that time is already passed. And then when I email him back, he doesn't answer. So now I'm in this kind of just cat and mouse race of trying to talk to these people. But what has just been really frustrating is that, and for all the time, with just heroin addicts in general, people will call bluff of, people saying that they're getting clean. They're like, I'm going to do it. And then it ends up not happening next month and the month after. And sure, I've had lots of struggles over these years, and I'm still, have yet to be fully successful with it. But this time I really have been putting my all into it, and still every day, I'm trying to get this done, and it's been frustrating that so much of it is out of my control, and that just the system, fails at helping people in these situations. I've tried all of the types of treatments that they have in America, and it just hasn't worked for me. When I did the Ibogaine treatment when I was younger, it did work. And I was young, I was in a bad place. Why I did end up where I am today has to do with lots of other circumstances. But this I know that it's a treatment that allows for something to happen that I never thought would be possible before, because I was just so terrified of the withdrawal, and it ties into a lot of the trauma that I've had over the years. But it's just I don't want people now to think that I'm bullshitting about this, because I'm really serious about it, and I'm tired of living like this, and it's getting it to the point where just each day I have to deal with this sickness, and I just it's eventually I'm gonna have to probably just go back to the maintenance that I was at if I can't make this transition. I'm kind of stuck just white knuckling it, and I have been for upwards to a year now. But I'm glad that there are other places in the world that I can get this done, and I'm gonna stay strong. And keep trying, and I'll keep you guys posted. Hopefully I will hear something soon. I'm in this last period. The place was supposed to open at the start of January, but I think things have maybe fallen a little behind. But yeah, it's just frustrating, but I'm hanging in there, and it's this shit is gonna happen. Whether it's going to be, whether there's 10 more roadblocks or 0, I'm staying strong to this, because if not, probably going to end up this, disease is going to end up killing me. So, well, we'll see how it goes. But thanks for listening, everybody. And I'm not a liar.